Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel today for another review. I'm not doing it alone today. As you can see, I got me some help. My boy David Stark of WatcherPass.com is here with me today as we are getting ready to discuss the film that we reacted to. If you've seen that, obviously I put a reaction on my channel, and there's also a reaction on his channel that you definitely want to check that out first, folks, before you check out this review. Please, I know I want the views, but please check those out first. But we are ready to talk about A Cup of Cheer. So before we get into that, David, how's it going today?
Can't complain. It's after Halloween. The Christmas spirit's coming, and I've got my own cup of cheer and my holiday sweater. So excited to talk about this film. Thanks for having me.
Any chance your tree is up already?
No. In my household, we have a strict rule that the tree can't go up until after Thanksgiving. So I did. Okay, go.
And when does it have to go down is the other big question.
As soon as I, drag my lazy ass over there and get it down. Yeah.
Oh boy. Okay, one more question. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Yes, Die Hard is a Christmas movie, and Nightmare Before Christmas is a Christmas movie.
All right, now we can get this review going, folks.
Controversial statements. How are you doing? How are you? I see you lost your holiday cheer.
I got a lot I want to talk about with this film. First, I just want to premise that this film is by the director and writer Jake Horowitz, which again brought you the film It's All About Who You Know that I reviewed earlier this year. That I really, it was really that first independent film this year that I was really like, wow, I need to pay a lot more attention to these films, to these directors who I may not have heard of. And it just really grew my appreciation for the indie product, especially during the pandemic where like things are so crazy that you just like, it went from like a bunch of movies to no movies to like hidden gems. And here we are again with A Cup of Cheer. Now, quickly, I just want to say that instantly, and when you're going to watch this film, you have to prepare yourself. And what you have to prepare yourself with is you got to bring your cup of cheer. I watched this movie under the influence. I definitely had me a few cups of whiskey.
Which holiday drink was it? Whiskey? It wasn't eggnog.
It wasn't eggnog because don't like eggnog, but it's
even available yet? I don't know. Is it being sold?
I trust me, for someone who's never looking out for it, it could be right in my face. But I did have me a nice adult beverage, and it was the really added layer needed for this film. This is definitely, as advertised, it's an X-rated comedy, and it's not X-rated because of the idea of you thinking like a bunch of graphic things are happening, but it is adult. It's a adult level dialogue, and I think the other idea is that it's definitely something that you want to go in under like the idea of really relaxing, whatever your vice may be, and just enjoy a movie that's going to go off the walls for the holiday. A good, I would say almost like a good feel good, but it really goes off the rails. So I think that's like the biggest disclaimer I want to say is that when you're going into this film, definitely have your vice of choice at hand because it's absolutely going to be the extra layer for you. About you, what about you, David, going into this?
Well, no, I think that's right. Now let's be clear. It's an Xmas rated comedy, so it's like you said, it's not raunchy, it's not gory or anything like that. But there is a lot of irreverence in it. So I think you're right. If you have your own little cup of cheer, it kind of helps to take some of the edge off, and it really kind of makes the film smooth. So yeah,
yep.
Cheers.
Yep. And then the next thing I'm gonna say, and then we'll kind of go about with the synopsis and kind of breaking down a little bit of the trailer, is that Jake, I think, does a tremendous job of really bringing characters to life. Now, I think that when it comes down to the writing and then the casting, I think it's his vision of making sure that the right people are in these roles, that what he writes on paper truly resonates to the viewers. And it's like within, if it's the first movie, All About Who You Know Without Seen, and this film, it's always going to be that one character that's just going to instantly grab your eye, and you're just going to be like, oh, this is going to be my favorite one. I think he, again, doubled down from the first movie in making sure that within the first 30 seconds of this movie that you knew that you knew exactly the character who was going to be so charismatic and who was just going to be the one that you had to keep your eye on because of the idea of just how good his writing is with these characters and casting for these characters. And like, you know, just to throw some names out there, Storm Steenson, who plays Mary, and Alexander Oliver, who plays Chris, the two of them are the leads here. Again, these characters, they're really organic with each other, and they just heighten each scene with just the craziness. Like each time the next scene, the next dialogue, whatever it may be, is just keep the up in the ante. And I think that's just because they play off of each other really well.
Yeah, no, I agree. This is a very different film from All About Who You Know, but there are some similarities. You know, like you said, the characters are realized by Jake, and actually, so there's another writer here too. It's Andy Lewis, who wasn't involved in All About Who You Know. So you know, you've got a collaboration there, but the characters are realized. You know, you can tell that they're Jake's vision, and there's a very confident style in what they do. You know, they have, you know, kind of, you know, they know who they are, they know what their purpose is, and they really stick to it the entire film. And I think, you know, Storm and Alex were great choices for this. They kind of encompassed their characters perfectly and really kind of did everything that they had to do for this film to kind of realize the vision.
Yes, indeed. Now I'll throw it to you, because I feel like I've been talking a lot now. Will you really pretty much put into perspective what this film is?
So this film it's billed as an irreverent Christmas film, and it definitely is. I mean, you can tell from the start that it knows all the holiday film tropes and some of the, you know, most famous holiday, you know, film moments, and it definitely tries to cut those down. I mean, it's you know, it goes so far as to just completely generalize some of the most, you know, infamous holiday film ideas, and just kind of, you know, reduces them down to just essentially buzzwords. And so you can totally tell where this film is going to go from the start. And it follows a lot of the holiday film storylines, as you know, Storm kind of goes back to her hometown, and as you know, if you've seen any holiday movie, you know exactly where this plot is going to go. The crisis, it's going to happen on Christmas Eve. Oh no, we have to save, you know, it is exactly that. And it's interesting and refreshing to see you know, Jake kind of cut all these holiday tropes down. I will say I like holiday movies. Like there's a certain appeal to them, but it was interesting to see Jake's take on those types of movies and those tropes that we all kind of know. And you know, you could essentially write a holiday movie by using Mad Libs and, you know, filling in a few like standard holiday words. So it's really interesting to see Jake's take on that.
Absolutely true. And just to kind of point to a couple of those films that you can really tell was referenced. I would say one, obviously Home Alone. I think there was like a couple of Home Alone reference. There was a Ghost reference as well too. I don't know if you peeped that.
I did not get that, but that's interesting.
Yeah, and I was fingers crossed for the Die Hard reference that didn't come. But yes, there's definitely are a ton of nods to the classics, and I think that's super important. The idea that you're saying Jake's take on it, because yes, they all have a little bit of a spin to it, but you absolutely know where it's coming from. So I thought that was really important.
There's also a Love Actually reference, which is, you know, one of my favorite holiday movies. And I know it's gotten panned recently, but it still has a special place in my heart. So there's a Love Actually reference. There's probably multiple, but there's one that I caught.
Yeah.
And there must be, you know, there's a ton of other ones. So if you are in this area, or, you know, if you've seen holiday movies before, you will definitely recognize some of those, you know, holiday movie standards, hallmarks even.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, one other thing I want to talk about really quick is the surprise character for me. And that was Miss Clovenwich, who was played by Helly Chester, was the most unexpected favorite character of mine. Her performance was just really the added layer of icing on this cake of this movie. I just can't tell you how every scene that she's in, whether it's her directly in the front or in the back unfocused, she absolutely becomes the must-watch character. So I definitely, you know, just wanted to nod off to her performance in this. But going back into like the film structure, now the one thing I won't say I had a problem with, but I will also give a disclaimer or heads up to the viewers, is that there are a ton of laughs in this film, and you also have to like marginalize your laughs, because there's so much dialogue that's happening that you may laugh over another joke. And I've seen it it happened a couple of times to me, and because I watched it and in a setting and other people was watching it, you know, I'm laughing at something and somebody was like, did you hear them say that? And I'm just like, I didn't even catch that because of me laughing. And I think that you know, when it comes down to most comedies, things are truly paced in the sense of like joke, breather, joke. But this was like joke, breather. It had its own little pattern, its own little beat. And I think that's cool of it being unique. But it's just a warning to everybody. It's just like, always have one ear open after you're laughing, because the next joke may be immediately after. And then some of these scenes, you know, you're getting three or four people in one scene, and multiple conversations are kind of happening where you're having one person saying something, and then you have another person, you know, doing some type of parody of some sort. So you're laughing at that, but then you're missing that. So like a lot is thrown at you in a sense of the comedic factor to this. So you just, again, you have to have one eye open, one ear open to kind of make sure that you really grasp everything that's happening in every scene.
And you know, you brought up a good point. It's not just the dialogue. I mean, there's, you know, things that the characters do that are just so out there that if you're laughing or kind of like talking about something, you might miss that little reference, that little you know, that little parody. So it's definitely something to keep in mind. I mean, the dialogue was fast and furious in some of these scenes. So I think that's a very good point. And look at you with the humble brag of, oh, look, I'm watching with people. I've got friends.
Oh boy. But you know, overall, what I enjoyed about this film is obviously this film knew exactly what it wanted to do, and it did that. Some of the things I didn't like about the film is that at times I kind of lost scope of what the plot was, and I think that's okay with a comedy at times, because sometimes comedies and sometimes even horror films, it's all about the jokes, so it's all about the scare tactics, and the plot can get washed away. And again, because I don't think this film was designed to have the most elaborate plot or the most elaborate story. It just had to have those memorable laughs for you to come back and reference. And that's what I'm cool with. I also think that the jokes also are, how do I say this? I won't say situational, but like it all depends on generations and everything, where certain things are going to stick. Certain things may go over your head. You're absolutely, every joke is not going to resonate with you, because they're, again, the range. I mean, again, when you think about Storm and Alexander, where I think they're kind of pointing towards the demographic that may be a little older, which is fine. And I think that Helly's character is pointing too much of the younger because of just the lingo that's being used here. So like, maybe you can catch it all, but I think I highly doubt that you will grasp every bit of joke or dialogue, lingo, or whatever it may be, or gesture, shall I say, because I feel like, you know, they're pointing to many different generations here. So with that being said, just a little bit of everything for everyone.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think you know, some of this film was very different from All About Who You Know. I mean, obviously it was a very different type of film. All About Who You Know had a little more subtle humor, which I appreciate. This film is a lot more confident and irreverent and out there, and some of those jokes aren't going to stick with everyone, like you said. I mean,
yeah.
You know, I also didn't really love the antagonist in the film, who, you know, you meet early on. You know, some of his situations I thought were just, you know, I didn't see a need for them, but you know, that he was part of it, and he was, you know, he definitely was realized in a vision that, you know, you knew exactly what Jake was going for, and he did that. So it just didn't resonate with me. It might not resonate. It might resonate with other people, which is fine.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I noticed that was interesting is maybe this is just kind of the movies that I like, but the film in some parts kind of, even though it's railing against these holiday tropes, it goes into some of the holiday tropes. And there you have this kind of satirical style, but also this underlying heart that is kind of inherent in holiday movies, which is why they're so popular. I mean, we all know the story and we all kind of know what to expect, but they are popular movies. They're feel-good movies. And in those instances, I thought, no, this is what I wanted to see. You know, so it was kind of ironic that the parts that I liked the most were when it kind of fell into those tropes that it was railing against. But that might have been by design too. I mean, Jake is a very good writer. He's a very smart writer. So I think, you know, when he's doing something, he does it purposefully. So.
Yeah, and I think I'll say one thing that I should have said very, very early in this review is that this didn't feel like an indie film to me too. I thought the production was just really stellar, and I thought it all came together really well. And again, I always gotta, add in the factor that like this is being done during the pandemic. Resources are low, all types of obstacles that one may have to go through as a filmmaker in order to make this happen. I thought it was just really well done on that note. But yeah, again, I think to your point too. Yeah, it's really it's a movie that isn't going to sit with everybody. There will be a little bit of something for everyone, but as an overall movie to keep your attention, it's about an hour and a half, so it's about good. It's a good length. I think it's good pace, but it still has to resonate with the viewers. And I just don't think, because of especially now we're in the midst of like 3 or 4 generations in the social media era, just adds another little cork into that as well too. So the internet era guys and folks, they like the quick, fast punchlines and just be done. And some of this is a little bit of a build. Again, the parodies and all that other stuff ain't really something you see too often. But again, that's because of some of the stuff that we grew up knowing and we knew how it works. And it's just like, you're gonna gravitate to some things that resonates with you much easier than others may. And again, that's why every bit of the jokes, every bit of dialogue, every bit of the scenes may not fit with everyone. But overall, again, to overcome that, I think easily is bringing in your vice and watching this. And what sticks out to you is going to hit you, and what doesn't, you'll be okay. have another round, whatever it may be. You know what I mean?
Two more quick points. One, I think you're spot on that the cinematography was phenomenal. I mean, it didn't feel like an indie film, other than a small cast, but like the shots were perfect. The sets were like really well done. It definitely evoked that Christmas feel, and there were some really beautiful shots, especially some of the nature shots. Were I love them. When they're on the frozen lake. So I think Jake has a very good vision, and he knows what he wants to put in there, and he kind of gets it all framed together in this interesting package. So definitely I loved watching all the sets and all the characters. The other thing I noticed that I really liked was the music. They had some really nice like punk Christmas takes on songs. It's one of those films. This happens occasionally. I'll be watching the end credits and I'll just rewind and play it back like 3 or 4 times. So I love the song. And so I did that this time because I love that like, punk Christmas song. I listened to it over and over while I was writing the review. So that's just something that you should keep your ear out for. Like Najir said, you got to have eyes and ears open the entire viewing. So.
Yeah. Well, I'll kind of wrap it up on this note by saying, number one, this film is going to be released in November 6th. Now it's coming to select drive-ins, and when it eventually reaches on video on demand, I definitely say check it out. I think it's a good weekend Friday night movie with the family, friends, just a group of people. To be honest, man, I know social distancing, but pack it as much as you can, because I think you're going to notice around the room that people are going to react different, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. However, if you're going to see this in the drive-in, drink responsibly, because I do encourage. I honestly do encourage to go into this relax. Just go in knowing that you're going to see a really good movie that's going to give you some laughs, and it's going to be all over the place. It's going to bounce off the walls with some of the jokes and so on. There's going to definitely be some like some dialogue that's going to be like, did she just say that? Like, it's going to be some of that. But again, if you're relaxed and you're just in the good spirits, we'll just say the Christmas spirits, you're definitely going to have a good time with it. It'll pass by in no time. It's an hour and a half. And then, like I said, if you're watching in video on demand, definitely in the confines of your home, safely, social distancing. This is definitely one of those type of movies where you can say like, well, what else do y'all want to do for the night? Well, let's put on this movie I know and have everybody gather around and watch. And I think it will fit the tone of either it being a family setting or a party setting. That's really going to just, it'll be a nice, good cap for the night.
2 additions to that. I think it comes out on video on demand on November 6th as well. So look for it then. And I know it's premiering in drive-in. So if you're in Canada and you want to see it, and I think a lot of the drive-ins have like special cast Q&As as well, so you can see some of the characters that you just saw talk about their experience. So definitely check that out if you're in Canada. For us in the States, I think it comes out video on demand on November 6th. So just kind of keep your eye out on retailers. The other thing, I agree with Najir that this is a movie that you want to see with a bunch of people. Caveat being, I don't necessarily know if I would want to watch this movie with my parents. I think, one of the things I loved about one of the things I love about Jake's, writing, especially with All About Who You Know and this one as well, is it feels younger and fresher. And so I think some of the jokes might not have hit with my parents that, hit with me. And I bet some of the jokes will hit with, people that are younger than me. I'm getting older. I'm getting, more set in my ways. So I think this, pick a big group, but pick your audience carefully. And pick people that aren't easily offended, because this movie is definitely out to tear everything down.
Good point. The other thing I will say is that I feel like some of the dialogue also uses some Canadian lingo as well as American lingo too. So there's just a mix of a lot of things happening. So again, that's why I really encourage watching it with a group of people. You're going to see different reactions happen. But David's right. Maybe you don't want to watch this with your parents, but hey, if they are into it, then hey, let them check it out.
And that brings up another good point. I mean, we're recording this, before the election. I've heard a lot of people talk about how they want to go to Canada. So maybe this is a good reference for your, Canadian dialogue primer. Maybe you could watch this if you're thinking about going up north a little, for a little bit. So all sorts of different reasons to watch this movie.
Well, folks, that would do it. You can read David's review at WatcherPass.com, which will be dropping sometime soon. So just keep an eye out on that. And as always, let us know in the comments what you thought about the trailer. I saw a ton of people reacting to this. So definitely let me know if you are interested into it. Are you going to check this out with your parents? I would be very curious to know what your parents think about it.
I would love to hear that play-by-play. That would be fantastic.
But as always, stay tuned. More reviews and more news and more other good stuff coming to you really soon. Thank you for watching, folks. Everybody have a good, happy holiday. Yes, we're doing that already.
Happy holidays. Thanks for having me, Jared. It was fun.
No doubt, David.